Talking about the Fractal FM9. How pro is this? We've upped our live game.
This is so cool.
Multiple cameras. First of all, I got to show off this new toy. I wonder if I can do this, Bradford. Check it out. Look at that.
Don't drop it.
Look at the top on that thing. That is awesome. This, we'll talk about FM9 in a second. This is a PRS McCarty 2. They made these for like 2 years. 2007, 2008. It had like this active electronics thing in it that has been removed. It's gone. And the pickups are aftermarket. This is DiMarzio PAF Pro. This is DiMarzio Breed. This guitar it's killer. Is it not, Bradford?
It's very cool.
You've been enjoying it.
I don't prefer how those pickups sound completely, but they sound great.
They're pretty hot.
I'm not super into how they look, but I mean.
I think so. Okay, whether I swap the pickups out, let us know in the comments. If I swap the pickups out, or
y'all
keep
know any
them,
good pickup companies?
Should I keep the double whites? This is cream. The double white bobbins on this guitar. I think it makes it look cool. I'm gonna do this so the whole thing is in the frame. I think it makes it look cool.
I don't dislike it.
Unique. And I like the fact that people would see this and be like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what it is.
I will say a set of covered pickups would be too obvious.
Well, I mean, that's what the
bobbins
have.
The way they do their bobbins is really nice. It's classic. They're more like a hollow pin as opposed to just like I don't know.
Who, DiMarzio?
Yeah.
Oh, these, yeah.
Well, PRS does it something similar too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, theirs look different.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we're talking FM9.
Anyways.
We Bradford, are you taking note of questions?
Yes.
We got a new live setup. I got a table
like
here.
This table, everybody?
This is nice. This makes us want to go live. New microphone,
so it sounds
multiple
better.
cameras. Check it out. This is lemonade inside of this coffee mug.
The coffee mug just looks better.
It's sugar-free lemonade at that. So, all right. FM9 has been out for a couple days. I got myself.
Been out for a little bit.
I put myself on the wait list within an hour of the announcement, which is why I have it. Fractal did not send this to us. I bought it with my own monies. And I've had it for a few days. We're not new to the Fractal world of modeling, so the sounds that are in the FM9 are exactly the same as the sounds that are in the Axfix 3 and the FM3.
That answers a question.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The biggest difference is what it can hold, really. That's the short version. And then obviously they look different.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. We did just shoot a whole video where we basically sat right here.
Over an hour long.
Yeah. Well, it was like an hour and a half.
Format.
It was like an hour and a half.
It was actually. Yeah.
And we talked about the unit. So that'll be up. This is more of an interactive thing, more specific stuff, and just because we can. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So. Let us know, how does the audio sound? Because I haven't really actually heard how this sounds with this setup.
A little bit of housekeeping also. We are most likely going to be shifting Worship Leader Wednesday to once a month to kind of make it a bigger deal. So if you're here and you just saw that WT was live and you're wondering...
What day is it? Oh, it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
This is not Worship Leader Wednesday,
We try to make Worship Leader Wednesday a very sacred and special thing.
Yes.
And not talk gear, certain questions about worship leading in gear come up, but we try to keep that special. So this is in the afternoon. We want to talk about this thing.
What time is it? It's 3:48. We've got about 40-ish more minutes.
Yes.
So we're going to answer your questions. We're going to, audio sounds good. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Yabo2. Michael, thank you. You said you can hear a difference. I tell you, I'm going to rep this mic that I'm using. It's a Sennheiser MKH50. It's a boom mic. It's sort of an industry standard, like Hollywood boom setup. I've wanted better spoken audio for years, and I finally broke down and got it. Hey, Kevin Shuck. How are you? Glad to see you, buddy. Okay, so why don't we go over briefly some of the stuff we just filmed for our super long... We were going to make like a quick first impressions video. It was long. So, let's do it. FM9, where does it sit as far as FM3, AXFX3. It sits in the middle, both in size, functionality, buttons, and power. So this is how Fractal describes it. The AXFX3 is the most powerful thing. The FM9 is half as powerful, according to the DSP on board, as AXFX3. FM3, which I'm looking at it, it's sitting over there. FM3 is half as powerful as FM9. Now, what Bradford and I have found in practice, while that is true on paper, if our AXFX patches max out the memory of AXFX, like we can't add
there
more
was a
stuff.
few questions in this realm.
Okay, so this is going to answer a lot of them.
Yes.
Our AXFX patches are basically max out the memory for what we put in them. Right?
AX3, yeah.
AXFX3.
And for clarity.
The FM9 patches that we've created, which we have a few on the site, including a free one. So if you've got an FM9, head over to Worship Tutorials.
Yeah.
You'll see the FM9 section. You can download them. The FM9 patches max out the CPU of the FM9, and they have more than half as much stuff in them.
Yes.
Right? So while the power is technically half as much, I'd say it's like 75% of what can go into an AXFX patch goes into an FM9 for the type of stuff we do.
I think a lot of that extra DSP goes into like some routing stuff. I guess I don't, because like we can't, even though we'll have 75 to 85%, like the DSP will be 75-80%.
That's where you can't go above that.
Yeah,
or
you
the
can't
unit
you
stops
can't go
working.
above it. So like there's smaller things, like I guess it also like if you have extra shunts, Brian told me this, in your patch,
Like
that adds
blank,
DSP.
Yeah, like just blank blocks.
Yes. So
With
clean
signal
it up.
going through.
Yeah, just clean it up, and that helps. So there's a lot of little things like that. The one thing that we can't get in an FM9 patch,
At least this one
that we have in our other patches, is a pitch block.
Yeah, we'll go in here in a second. I'm going to go through this matchless DC30 patch that's on the site. I'm going to show you everything that's in it, and then we'll talk about what else is in the AXFX patch that we couldn't get in here. Okay, so I'd say we get roughly 60 to 75% of the content of an AXFX 3 patch into this FM9 patch, and I'd say the same goes for FM3. Well, maybe a little less because you can't do dual amps.
Yeah.
So there you go. So another big factor.
We'll dissect that.
Yeah, another big factor between FM9 and FM3 is you can do stereo dual amp. There are 2 amp blocks available to you in here, and only one in FM3. Some things that AXFX can do that this cannot do: tone matching. This doesn't do tone matching. This is a thing that nobody talks about. Everyone is, since Quad Cortex came on the scene, people talk about how Quad Cortex does capturing, Kemper does profiling. AXFX 3 does tone matching, which is essentially the same thing. We have, the Lemonade. There we go. We have tone matched the Bad Cat that you can't see over here, and it sounds just like it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You may not care as like the user, or not care, but you may not think that it's like a big deal compared to like a DC30 or something. But when we're sitting here and we hear the before and then tone match it to the Bad Cat and listen to the Bad Cat, it's crazy. It's really cool.
So Bradford and I are here to tell you that the AXFX 3 is a capturing, profiling device.
And it was doing
and a modeling device.
I think it was actually doing tone capturing before the Kemper even existed. I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that tech has been around. Line 6 used to have it in, I forget what they did, but they did the same type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, what were we going to talk about? What's in the patch then?
Yeah. What are the questions that we've got in so far?
They're hanging out around there.
A lot of them are probably saying, should I upgrade from Helix to this? That's probably the big question.
Well, they're asking asking DSP limitations and whatnot.
Let's do that. Okay, I'm going to go to the view. I'm going to go to the layout. I'm going to zoom out. Now, you can kind of see up here. I know you can't make out what is what, but this is the patch. Like if I had the editor up, which I should have done that. I should have had the editor. And, could have screen shared it. We could have gone really in depth with this thing. But this is the patch. Now, every single little square in here, little rectangle, is a place where you can put something. And then you just connect it with virtual cables. So let's start from the beginning. Here you can see, it'll show you what that is. This is the input block, so you can use any of the available inputs from up here. Next is the compressor block. Now, what you can't see in here, each block, so that's a compressor block. You can have, of the compressor block, I'm just going to go here. Here are all the compressors. So, studio compressor, pedal 1, pedal 2, dynamics processor, optical compressor, that's like an LA2A. We're not going to do this for every block, but this is how it works. Like, there are 13 different compressors in the Fractal modelers. This channel A is set to the JFET, which is an 1176, the classic studio comp. So each block then has, I'm going to switch to myself. Each block has 4 channels, A, B, C, D. So in that compressor block, block A can be any of those compressors. Block B can be any of those compressors. Channel C, sorry, can be any. Channel D can be any. So you can have 4 different compressors. That's how we set up our presets. So each effect block has 4 different options. Now the thing about it is, like, if the drive block, for example, has 4 drives, you can't use those simultaneously. Only one at a time. So yeah, the blocks, the channels inside of the blocks make things really flexible. But what you can do is, like, if you have a scene that's slide, you can switch to like a very heavy compression for slide just on that scene in that's one helpful. Compressor block. Yeah, you don't have to use 2 different, right?
I mean, if it's within a song, I would say if you're trying to build different sounds for different songs, I would just build different patches. Yeah. So there's that, but still, it's nice to be able to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is the tremolo. We have 4 different trims set up via the channels. Again, you can only run one at a time. One of them is the ramping trim, which Bradford can tell you a little bit about.
Yeah, we so Fractal, the way
no, it's all muted over there.
The way Fractal kind of lets you adjust parameters, it's basically like a digital person in the unit adjusts whatever parameters you want, which is kind of, and you set it to a button. So it's like you summon the person to do that. The way Line 6 does it with their
let me see if I can get to it.
It's a little odd the way they do it. It makes it kind of trippy with snapshots when we're doing that, but with this we have it set to control the speed. So it basically, we control how fast we want the knob to move back and forth, and we say how fast we want the knob to move back and forth.
Yeah, and it follows the LFO.
And it follows the curve we dial in.
Yeah, so it ramps. It does the Chase Bliss Gravitas thing.
Yeah, the Gravitas, you can do the same thing, basically. You can tell anything to control anything and do different stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing is the... oh, whoops, I'm doing the wrong... Okay, there we go. The next thing is... I'm editing stuff. Hold on. Let me go to the layout. There we go. The next thing is the drive. It's wanting me to do something. It's trying to get me to execute. I don't want to do this. Here's the thing. I haven't spent as much time in the Fractal universe as I have Helix, so it's asking me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get out of this preset, and then I'm going to go back into it. I can just use the other version of it. This is the single coil. Okay, so the layout. It still wants me to move the block left. Okay. So the next thing is the drive block. I'll just kind of tell you what we've got. The next thing is drive block 1, and inside of that drive block, we have, again, 4 separate overdrives. Drive 1 is sort of our first stage drive. The main, like channel A, is the king of tone. So that's the drive we have in there. And Fractal has a ton of overdrive options, pedal options that you can pick from, algorithms. Next is drive 2. So we have 2 separate drive blocks. Drive 2 is like stage 2. Yeah. It's bigger drives. We have like an 808 and a full tone full drive.
More saturated.
808. We have like a Sir Riot in there, and we have the Fractal Shimmer drive, which is their own thing, which sounds awesome.
I love
it. So you can stack those 2 blocks. You can turn drive block 1 on and drive block 2 on, but you can only have 1 channel from either block. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It'll be the same you in Italy if you go on vacation. If you are sad where you are now, sorry, it's a
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a Saturday Night Live thing. Does that make sense?
Definitely don't know what you're talking about.
Next is the volume block. So that's where we've got a block after the drives, and then you can plug an expression pedal in up here and control the volume. This is a send and return block. It's an internal send and return. So if you are, familiar with Helix, like how you go from path 1 to path 2, it's like a virtual send and return. It's the same kind of thing. Right? So it just lets us elongate the signal chain. The next thing is the amp block. In this case, it has 4 channels. So this is the matchless DC30. So it's got the matchless on it. Now you can set up channel B to be the same amp, just at a higher gain setting. What we forgot to talk about in our video we filmed was the control switch, how we're gaining up the amp.
We did forget to talk about that.
Oh, well. So you could set up a completely different amp. Like you could have like a twin in channel A and like a Mesa rectifier in B and switch from your clean to your metal tone if you wanted to.
There's going to be like a blip or like a slight drop.
Yeah.
So, you can put 2 amps in this thing.
Yes. You can put 2 separate amp blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, you could run stereo amps.
We'll show you that in a second.
Or I guess maybe not even stereo. I guess you could run one for clean and one for dirty.
Yeah,
that's how you prefer to do things.
You put them in series and just turn them off.
And actually, even with this patch being maxed out, we could add another amp.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit with the way the DSP handles it. Next is the cab block. You can have 4 IRs per channel. So we have 2, so they're panned in stereo. All the stock Fractal cabs are IRs, and they sound very good. They're not our IRs, they are Fractal's IRs. Okay.
Yeah.
Next is the EQ block. We use that for just tone shaping after the amp. Next is the chorus block. We have 4 different choruses set up. So one is like a CE1, like a Boss. One is the tri-chorus, which sounds really good. One we have set up to sound like a vibrato.
Because
they don't have a vibrato.
Some reason there's no vibrato.
Yeah, but you can make the chorus block sound like one. Next is delay block 1. And so in delay block 1, we have, I'll swap to you guys can't see these. The way these screens are, yeah, they're so bright the camera can't see them, but we'll show you how this is all working in a second. The delay 1 block has like quarter note and eighth note delays in it. And then the delay 2 block, which is here in parallel, has dotted eighth and stereo dual delays in it. And all of these effects after the amp are stereo. And then you've got the reverbs. So reverb block 1 has like normal to medium size reverbs. Reverb block 2 has all the cloud reverbs. So again, you can have normal reverb and cloud on at the same time. You can turn each block on. And then there's a Plex delay block, and the Plex block has reverbs and shimmers in it. So yeah, you've got 3 reverb blocks you can turn all on at the same time. Here they all are up here. This is plate, this is cloud, this is Plex. They're all on at the same time. All right, that is the signal chain. So what do we have? We have essentially, this is what you can turn all on at the same time: a compressor, tremolo, 2 drives, amp. There's the amp and cab, EQ, chorus, 2 delays, 3 reverbs. That is a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it's not as much as what you can get in a Helix patch, but it's a lot of stuff.
The Plex verb, I don't know if some people may not like that as a verb. I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't do. I like the characteristic of it, but if you're trying to get 3 different verb sounds, like that doesn't to me do what I want. It sounds good when it's stacked. So I bet it depends on what you're.
But Fractal's cloud verbs are awesome, and they're actually like cirrocumulus, like they're named cloud names. They're really, really good, especially when you run them at ultra high quality. We're not going to go into all that. Is there a super chat?
Yes, George S. Tremera.
Thank you, George.
Said thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Now I want to show you guys something else. Yeah. There's only 1 amp in this patch, 1 amp block, and if you see the CPU up here, it's hovering around 76%, which is close to the max. So you might think you can't add another amp in this patch, but you can. So we're gonna do it right here. I don't know what this is trying to do. You know what we're gonna do, Bradford? I'm gonna turn the thing off and turn it back on. It was in some mode that I don't know how to get out of. So we'll see if this works.
Somebody said
here you can see how long it takes to boot up.
A couple people said something about paging over left to do something, but I don't know what they were talking about.
I was doing the page over, and it didn't seem to. I don't know.
I don't know. What
so we're back. Okay, so we're back into the patch. Now we got the view that I want to see. I don't know what it was doing. So the CPU is set up at 77-ish%. If we add another amp block, which is really easy to do this, you just move to an open spot and turn the knob, and then it cycles through all the available blocks. So there they all are. And there are many. You can go to Fractal's site and see everything that you can do. So I'm going to add the second amp block in.
George goes, you got my last name right. I should send you more money.
Yes.
I sounded it out.
And then you can go pick an amp, and here are the amps.
Yes.
There are so many.
You all are still telling us the exact same thing you already
told us.
Let's
go to the end of the amps, and let's see how many there are.
They said just scroll over using the page, and my point was, yes, what were you trying to tell us to do that for?
There are 289 available amps. Now, some of those are separate channels of the same amp.
Where does it say that number?
289.
Oh, I see. Okay, I was glare on that side.
It's hard to see. You definitely can't see it, but it's there, 289. The last one is the Wrecker Rocket, which is the Trainwreck Rocket, which is Trainwreck's version of an AC30. It's pretty awesome. So you can pick any amp you want, put it in there. Anyway, so what I wanted to show you is I put a second amp in. It's right there below the first one. And the CPU went from 77.1 to 77.8. Right? So it didn't add much. Now, if you would take this amp out and try to add a pitch block in, it wouldn't let you do it. So this is what's going on with that. Fractal there are 4 DSP chips in this. This is a quad device. So Quad Cortex is not the only quad device out there. Although we can get into it, Quad Cortex is kind of way more powerful.
That is true.
Yes. There are 4 chips in this device.
Our big thing is always... It depends. There's so many things to consider. Yes. There's no black and white answer.
Yeah. So the 4 chips, one of the chips is dedicated to running amps only. So if you're familiar with Helix, Helix has 2 DSP chips. Like row 1 is one of the chips. Row 2 is the other chip. So that's why you can like a lot of people when they first get a Helix, they'll put everything in the first row, and then all of a sudden stuff will be grayed out, and they're like, is this it? Well, you just got to go to the second row.
Yeah. And actually you can even make things go a little further if you what do they call it, path 1 and 2, and then each path has A and B.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You can actually get a little bit more if you do it right, which is kind of cool.
So Fractal doesn't do it that way, which in my opinion makes it more flexible. They designate different chips to handle different types of effects. So in Axe Effects, I think there are 2 chips in Axe Effects, but they're far more powerful than the chips in here. So in Axe Effects, one of the chips handles amps, the other chip handles all the effects. Here, one of the chips handles amps, which is why I only had 1 amp in, so when I put the second one in, like there was a lot of available power to put the second amp in, because that chip was not being utilized. And from what I understand, and they have a chip dedicated solely to reverbs, which is nice because you can run them all at ultra high quality.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much of a hit.
You can run yours at ultra high quality on the Axe 3. It's almost
you just have to take something out.
Yeah, it's almost like this is more powerful if you approach using it in a different way.
It is.
It's crazy, which yet another example of it all depends.
Yeah. So what does the Axe Effects patch have? So right now this has 2 amps, 2 drives, 2 delays, 3 reverbs, a tremolo, a chorus, a compressor, and a volume pedal. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So the Axe Effects patch, the equivalent Axe Effects patch that we have for this patch, has yet another delay in it, a 3rd delay block with all kinds of delays that we use, and then a pitch block with like POG type effects.
And all this stuff. Actually,
and everything else that's in here.
I don't think you can get 2 amp. I don't think we could get this exact patch with 2 amps and a pitch block in the Axe 3.
Yeah, you can.
We can?
That's
We've done that?
Mm-hmm.
And 3 delays?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 verbs in the Plex verb?
Yep. Yeah, the Axe FX 3 is pretty legit. It's crazy.
It does depend on the amps, I think, too.
Yeah.
Amp types take different DSP, I think. Okay.
And so the other thing about, one thing that I think about this is like, I'm going to show you that. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I want to remove this amp. So now this is none. So I'm going to try and add a pitch block, and it's going to say, oh, you can't do that. So one thing that's like kind of a bummer is like, because that amp, oh, it let us. Oh, but look, the CPU's into the red. Once the CPU goes into the red, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. CPU went red. That means stuff's not going to work very well. So one thing that, I wish they could do is like, if you're only going to use one amp, you're not able to like use the extra DSP from that one chip that runs amps to do anything else, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay. Are there any other questions we can address before we move on to like the layout, how we're utilizing the buttons?
There's a few things, but I think they're kind of very, very specific, and I think we kind of covered some of that. People asking questions about Helix and whatnot.
Okay.
I think some people maybe they don't know what we do. We do everything. If we have the unit, we work on all of them.
Yeah, so here are the units we have.
So we don't. Somebody said no more Helix. No.
No, Helix is still very close to the hearts of myself and Bradford. Yes. The Helix is right here, in its rightful spot, into inputs 1 and 2 in the UA Apollo. That should tell you something.
That it might have preeminence.
Helix has inputs 1 and 2, so that'll tell you. The stuff that we make product for are Helix, HX Effects, HX Stomp, Pod Go.
I'd say if anything gets the shaft, it's HX Effects.
Yeah, but Helix is still like number one for us.
Yeah,
so all the Line 6 stuff. We do Kemper profiles. I did see, like, are you guys going to abandon Kemper? Like, we literally just put a Kemper pack out, like, a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more coming. We made another one last week.
Yeah, we could put it on the site right now. It's a JTM45.
Ooh, yes.
Jumped,
good.
Bright, normal channel, all that.
All 3 channels, yeah.
So
Kemper, and when I talk about, like, these different modeling platforms, like, we use them extensively as well. We use them live. We really try and get to know them.
Yeah, Quad Cortex. The only reason why there's not as much Quad Cortex stuff is because we can't sell anything.
Yeah, we've captured a bunch of amps for Quad Cortex. We've made a bunch of.
Most of what's out for Kemper is out for Quad Cortex or available. For
ready. Yeah, and a lot of stuff is free on the app from us too.
Worship tutorials, one word.
On the Cortex app.
Yeah, the Cortex app.
Quad Cortex, we do all the Fractal stuff. Axfx 3, FM9, FM3. What am I missing? I hope that's it. That's a lot.
And we make IRs.
Oh yeah, we make IRs from cabs.
And we've tweaked some.
We use those in our Helix patches.
And we're ready to release some IRs for Iridium and ACS1.
And we have a lot of amps in the room.
About to have more.
And we use amps. We mic them with the cabs and mics and preamps and things. We also use the UA aux and the 2 Notes Captor X. So we do. I sit here in this room and do a lot of A/Bing for my own curiosity and benefit.
We go by what, like, it typically comes with if somebody issues an update, we chase down what's new in the update and try to release something to capitalize
especially that. Line 6.
They're legit with their updates.
Yeah.
But we also go.
Neural just put a great update out.
I've messed with the new verbs and they sound awesome.
Yes.
But like we also go by like if we were messing with something, it sounds really great. You don't want us making something just to make it. We make stuff when we find something we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like we don't release something until we get there. So like if there seems to be an influx of like one thing, I don't know. I feel like if you're looking, if you're looking with the bias, you'll find the bias. Like, but we just go with like Fractal just released FM9, so of course we're gonna be talking about it. So. And
I'm excited to use it live a lot.
Yeah.
I'm planning to use this thing a lot live. Okay, so if you have questions for us about all these modeling units, FM9 specifically, let us know. Let's move on to talking about the buttons. Because I was kind of bummed that there aren't 3 buttons right here. Like I want 3 more buttons. I'm used to Helix with 12 buttons. I'm used to Axe 3 with the FC12, which gives me 12 buttons. So if you're used to Helix, what you can do with these is going to kind of blow your mind, because Helix lets you do basically two things. You can do, you have that mode button usually up here, and it'll switch between effects and snapshots, or presets, or you can do snaps, and it's pretty flexible. But I'm going to show you this. I know you can't see what these things say, so I'm just going to talk you through it. If you do this button press right here, this takes you to the master layout. So the word layouts is important because there are 9 layouts. Each layout you can do completely different set of things with these 9 buttons. So it kind of means you've got like 80 some buttons. All right. So 9 layouts.
It's crazy.
And this layout is called presets. This layout is called scenes, effects, more effects, looper. We have customized, this is layout 6, 7, and 8. We've customized these effects 1, effects 2, and scenes. And we're using per preset mapping so it doesn't mess up other presets. So if you go into this layout, like all of these buttons do whatever you want them to do. And I should say this, each button can do one of two things. You can tap it or you can press and hold. So it has secondary function for each button. All right, so for each of the 3 layouts that we're using, these 3 buttons stay the same. This button is tap tempo, and use press and hold to go to tuner. By the way, Fractal's tuner is legit. So you get like the tuner that goes across like this, you get the strobe, and you get the little like arrow thing. It's like a 3-in-1 tuner, and it's very accurate. It's great. Okay. This button is presets. So if you click this button, it shows all your presets, and you can bank up and down and select a preset. This button is sort of our magic button that says view. You can't see it, but it says view. When you press this button, these 6 buttons do different things. So this button will go to the next layout. So we're on layout 6. That jumped us into layout 7. These buttons stay the same. These buttons are different. So now we're seeing effects 2. Press it again. These buttons go to scenes. Press it again. It cycles back to 6. And you can see it up here what it's doing. So if you watch right here where my finger is, that says effects 2. Now it says layout 8, layout 6. Okay. So in layout 6, which is effects 1, these are drives. So we've got the King of Tone, which was that drive 1. We've got the 808, which was that drive 2 block. And then we've got the amp gain, which is a Fractal has functionality called control switches. And I think there are 6 of them that you can do. And each control switch can adjust parameters of anything. So we have control switch 1 set to take the amp gain from here to here, basically. So if you know our Helix patches, it's the same. We do that with those too. So this is amp gain. It turns the gain on the amp up. So you can stack all of these if you want, or usually this is stage 1. Stage 2 would be these 2 together. Stage 3 would be these 2 together. That's how we like to do it.
Don't turn on all 3.
All 3 at the same time is...
It compresses and it does not do what you think it does.
It's too much gain. I'm gonna let say that again when they can see your face.
All 3 causes compression.
You don't want that much.
You don't want that. Yes. Also, the handful of people are saying this sounds complicated. And
it's not. Well,
so that's my point, though.
Yeah, it is, but we've simplified.
But my point in the people are... One of these units is going to make more sense to you. One of these, so many units is going to make more sense to you than others. And it's going to be operating within like your preferred method. Mm-hmm. If you are somebody who's going to be purchasing patches anyways, I would say it almost doesn't matter. Like if you're like, I will probably 95% of the time be operating from a patch that somebody else made that I purchased, I'd say it almost doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't at that point. If you're somebody who's breaking it down and you want to make everything yourself, yeah, it can sound confusing. For me, what's cool about these buttons, the way it's laid out, it's very reminiscent of how I can set up my RJM, my PVC stuff.
Yes.
Like you can make buttons do certain things. Like I combined certain buttons. It's pretty crazy. Like I made buttons do things that operated in the way I saw fit. It was really flexible.
Yeah.
Helix, they had created something for you, and they said, "This is it." And like,
well,
they created this with the intent of
that's
like,
true. And it's
this
like
is all you're going to
use
need.
it how it was designed to be used.
Yeah.
Now, I did see a question. Jonathan said, "Is this the Fractal layout?" This is a custom layout that we made based on how we plan to use this and how we think you guys would use it.
Yeah.
To you. Now you can go. So this is the master layout. Like these layouts are all like the stock Fractal layouts, and they're presets, scenes, effects, and more effects. It's very simple. I mean, it's set up how you would. I mean, it's very intuitive. You don't have to customize everything, but you can, which is why it's.
But we
cool.
also did it for you. So.
Yeah, it's all, and this is like how we would want to interact with it. So, this is effects 1, right? Layout 6. And if you get a patch from us, which there is a free patch available to you, go to worshiptutorials.com, go to the FM9 page, and there it is, free AC30. And it's fully featured. It has everything this patch has. These are all built in. You don't have to do anything. You just have to select this layout. That's it. And then you're there. So this is effects 1. So this is drive, right? We just talked about that.
Yeah, those 3 are.
And this is mod. Mm-hmm. So this is a tremolo, normal tremolo. This is Bradford Mitchell's special ramping tremolo. And this is chorus, right?
And like we would put, if we were going to put pitch in a patch instead, it would go here somewhere.
Yeah. Now, if you hit this view button, it goes to effects 2. Now you've got delays and reverbs. So you got quarter note delay, dotted eighth note delay. And because quarter note and dotted eighth were in 2 separate blocks, you can stack these, right? So now this is on and this is on. This is the stereo dual delay. And because it's a different channel of this block, when you turn this on, that one turns off. That's on, that's off. But the quarter note delay can be on during all of them. Hope that makes sense. These are the reverbs. You've got the plate verb. This is reverb block 1. This is the cloud verb. This is reverb block 2. This is the plex verb. It's 3. Okay. Next time you hit the view button, you go to our scenes menu. This is clean. This is drive. This is drive plus. This is praise and worship lead. So it's like a big ambient lead. This is a big ambient clean. This is swells.
And we can make 8 scenes.
And scenes are like snapshots if
Yeah, for
you
your Helix.
don't know what scenes are. It's
Yeah.
like combinations of effects.
Yeah.
Now, there are 8 scenes in this thing, and there are only 6 via the foot switches. So you can change which ones are on here pretty easily.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
That's
so
how it's laid out.
we have 8. So we will make 8 because we have the Axe 3 and we make 8 for that. And then you can select what you want to put on each button. So maybe you don't think you have a reason to have swells and ambient clean, or maybe you don't need clean drive and drive plus and P&W lead. And so you can do whatever you want. You can swap our scenes out, or you can change what the scenes are.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
and really, what's in here are like gain options, gain and like wet stuff. And so what's not represented on these snapshots is modulation, but you can select the drive and easily just go here to chorus and turn it on.
Yeah, and either save it or not, whatever.
So, Andy, thank you for your super chat.
Yes.
Andy asked this question, which is a good segue to the next section we can talk about. I know you make Helix patches, but I notice whenever you post photos from Sunday mornings, you don't play the Helix really anymore. Who are you referring to? Probably me. Do you like the other options better? To answer your question, we will answer this question.
Yeah.
But I will say I played Helix this past Sunday.
I
It was awesome.
also I'm catching up. I've never used Axe Live until
You haven't, so you
this
used
week.
You used
This is my
Axe
first time using Axe Live.
this
Yeah.
past week.
It was my first time,
and I used Helix.
And when I was on staff at a church leading worship, I used Helix most Sundays.
Yeah,
I used, and I don't. It's not as interesting to look at. It's the same picture every single time. So
right. Yeah, that's one of the things. Like we take a picture when we use something different.
yeah,
So
that's a big.
So when we were at New Hope, I used Helix or Axe Effects. I would swap between those two, and I would choose one or the other based on what side of the stage they wanted me to stand on. So that should tell you.
That was that, yeah. And I would choose...
Because of the way the cable management was.
Yeah, and I would choose based on... If I had another guitarist and I was just playing rhythm, I would definitely grab Helix because I would need 2 sounds.
Yeah.
But I kept the Helix at the campus, and I would either use that or it would be I'd give it to my bass player to have use our bass patch if I was playing lead and I bring. Mm-hmm. So it was my go-to, and I just now got an Axe, but I just use the Axe, but when I load it in, I still had to carry the same amount of stuff.
Yeah.
I had to carry the Axe in one case, the FC6 in another, and guitars. And that was just as much work to set up as setting up my pedal board into the Axe or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm FM9 or Helix is way easier than,
True.
I need an FM9.
You do need an FM9. Well, you got yourself on the wait list, so I'll be anxious to see how long it takes. Yeah. When did you get on the wait list?
That's 2 days ago.
So Bradford got on 2 days ago. I'm anxious to see how long it takes.
It was announced August 27th, which I did not feel like it was that long ago. That's kind of weird to me.
It's that's almost a month ago, almost. Yeah. And I got on the list within an hour of the announcement, and it took a few days to get my invite. Anyway. But I will say, over the past couple years, since I've had Axe FX, I play it the most.
Yeah.
I play Axe FX 3 the most. We did a whole section in this video. It's kind of funny because we're basically making
doing the video again.
The same video.
It's the exact same
thing. We just filmed.
And I'm answering questions via chat because they're pretty straightforward questions.
Okay. So this is how we talked about it in the video. Bradford, what is your favorite, if you just pure amp tone, of all the modeling devices, capturing, profiling, whatever, all of them?
Kemper.
What is your favorite?
Kemper.
And how many have you used, everything? There are some that we haven't used. Have you used a Johnson J station?
No.
Okay, well. It's old school.
I know Johnson was the brand of my... No, it was not. It was the brand of my first acoustic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Biggs. Thank you.
He came on trolling. He goes, Helix forever. And I said, I can put you in timeout.
He's found a way back into our hearts with a super chat. So thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Well,
I'm about to make Jason happy with what I'm going to say. We appreciate your super chat, Jason. Jason's a huge Fractal user. In fact, he was like the John the Baptist of Fractal users. He was wearing sackcloth, eating locusts in the desert, just proclaiming the glory of fractal modeling before anybody in the praise and worship world was using fractal. Jason was the one leading the way, and then it was he and Rick Brand, and then I was like, I got to try this out. I got to see what it's all about. Also because U2 uses it, and Def Leppard, and Metallica, and yeah. All right, that was an odd tangent. So, Bradford, your favorite modeling unit as far as amp tone goes is... I really like this desk.
I do too.
I hope we're still in focus, but it looks all right. Is the Kemper Profiler.
2 of them.
2 of them, because you run
I like to spend money.
You run a... Bradford has a budget rig. His budget fly rig is his humongous board, which yours board is coming back soon.
Yeah, but I have 2 others I'm using too. So.
Your A-team board.
That's my A rig. I've been using my B, C, D, E, and F rigs.
It's
part of the job.
Chris Nash said, I used to rock a Johnson J station. I've heard those sound really good. They're one of the first modeling. They and Line 6 were the forefront of doing that stuff. All right. So you use 2 Profiler, 2 Kempers with your stereo board. That is your go-to A rig. That's the one.
That would be what I would use. Yeah. To me, it's not much more work to bring all that stuff than it is to bring an Axe 3 in one container
and an
FC12 in another. At
That's
that
a good
point, it's
the same number
slightly heavier.
It's the same number of bags,
which I welcome,
or cases, and a heavier.
Bring on the weight.
Not a problem for Bradford. If you don't know, Bradford he's in his garage at 5:30 a.m. Well, no, you joined a gym now.
I went to the gym.
Deadlifting enormous amounts of weight.
We moved. Garage isn't big enough right now.
Yeah, to hold all the plates that Bradford's stacking on. All right. So my preferred modeling, if I had to pick the best sounding one, in my opinion, is Fractal. Now, the point being, neither one of us is objectively right because these things are subjective. You prefer Kemper, I prefer Fractal. Who's is best? I would argue if you heard both of us play, you would say Bradford sounds better. But that probably has to do more with Bradford's playing than it does anything. Maybe it's his tone. Maybe I need to hop on the Kemper train. I don't know. Bradford, I was like, you would say Bradford sounds better. Bradford's over there like,
Kemper.
He knows. It's
4:30.
He knows who he is. All right, we got to wrap up soon.
I know my worth.
There are things about all of these modeling units that give them strengths and weaknesses. One of the weaknesses of the Fractal universe is, as somebody was saying when we were talking about these layouts, that sounds complicated. They can be very complicated devices.
Yeah, I love this and how it sounds. Mm-hmm. I still think Helix still seems to be the most fluid.
Helix is, so from an objective, now this is an opinion, but we are objective user. Like, to me, I say objective meaning like we don't have a reason to love one over the other, right? I mean, if we had a reason to love one of them over the other, it would definitely be Helix, because that's definitely like, we sell presets and like Helix is by far our biggest selling device, like, revenue generating device. So if we were gonna have reason to prefer one, it would be Helix for sure. So objectively using all of these things, Helix is by far, and I don't even think this is even close, the easiest unit to like interact with, user experience, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
It's
just if what's important to you. I mean, I think there's an edge here with amp sounds and delays and reverbs to a certain extent.
I think the overdrives in here are well. I say that,
but it's hard to tell because
the Line 6 drives.
We should use Line 6
awesome.
drives into this. And
remember for WT Tone, I did that video.
Yes,
where I compared the Line 6 drives to the Fractal drives to the actual drives, because I have a King of Tone sitting right over there that used to be yours. Thank you, Bradford. And it was like you couldn't really hear a difference.
No,
I'm just saying. So all that to say, the other curveball that I'm going to throw out there is I have this board over here that I built recently, and I've been using it into all different stuff because I'm like, how am I going to use this thing? What do I really prefer? And my favorite way to use that board is stereo into the Quad Cortex running 2 captures. One capture being the AC30 that we have, and the other capture being the matchless Laurel Canyon that we have.
Yep.
That's my preferred setup for the board. I've tried it into the Fractal stuff. It sounds great. I'm shocked at how much I love running that board into the HX Stomp. The HX Stomp is killer.
Yeah.
Especially for on a board. It's so good. So, yeah. Are there any other questions we can get to? I know there have been a bunch.
I feel like most people are just hanging out, chatting with one another.
All right, that's cool.
Or sharing their experience to some extent.
Oh, we got a super chat. Danger Bojangles.
I love that. In his picture is a chicken with a mustache, or a turkey with a mustache, or a
Let's
ostrich.
be friends. Thanks so much for this. It's been super. Oh, thanks for this. This has been super helpful. I was on the fence, but I'm leaning toward Kemper after this. He's gonna buy the dinosaur. Look at that, Bradford. You did it. It's the Bradford
I didn't even try to do
endorsement.
it. See, the fact that I barely even said anything and it won somebody over means something.
but you said this in the video we shot. It's like it's by far the least favorite thing to interact with.
Yeah, if I'm just using it as amps, it's great. As an all-in-one, it's flaming hot garbage. It's so finicky.
So Danger, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've made presets for it, and every time we should make more. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, like song performances.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, this Jonathan Sullivan is not sitting at this table right now, or he'd be punching us.
Yeah, but Jonathan also doesn't desire these real super intricate things that we like doing.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
if you're like looking for like the Kemper's great for all-in-one if you're only looking for a few sounds.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if you're like as an all-in-one unit,
He says, "Well, crap." If you get one, get the stage. I'll say that for sure. I would get if you want like,
I think
it depends on how you use it. So let's let it. This is devolving, but are you going to use it as an all-in-one thing, or are you using it with a board, and so you're using it as an amp because that's where it shines?
Yeah, the Kemper I think takes pedals the best out of all of them. The other units sound great, but I just prefer Kemper. Quad Cortex loses some of the depth, even with the way we've captured things, but it still sounds great in a mix. Axe Effects is a little different too. It's a little softer and a little more pristine. Still sounds great. They all sound great.
They do, and they all sound a little different, and they all have strengths and weaknesses. Charles Albert asks a question, then we're probably going to have to run here pretty soon. I know Bradford needs to leave. Do you think Helix will be relevant in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, here's the thing about the Helix. The FM9, you said this in the video, so I'm going to steal it. The FM9 does not make your Helix sound any worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was your thing to say to begin with. So in the moment, it's made more sense for me to say it, but now you can say it.
The FM9 does not make the Helix sound any worse than it already does.
No.
Like that's
any
the thing.
worse than it already does? Phrasing.
Oh boy. Well, it sounds great.
We made FM9 is not going to make your Kemper lose its thing.
We made IRs of the Bad Cat cabinet that came
There's
with
a whole
the
nother
Cub.
video. Yeah.
Right? And so it's Bad Cat has their own proprietary speaker that Celestion makes for them.
For speaker nerds, it's a V30 variant. Like a variant.
It is like, it doesn't sound much like a V30, but it started life. It has like a V30 cone in it, or like shell. Anyway, we put that in some of our Helix patches, and it sounds ridiculous.
Completely transformed it. We're gonna do a whole video.
And the Laurel Canyon has a different speaker. It's like a matchless speaker based on, I forget what. It's a different Celestion thing. Those two IRs. Maybe we just got better at making IRs, but it like. What is that freeze frame?
I want to keep that.
The Helix stuff that we got with those IRs is like crazy good.
Yeah.
And I was making what song patch were we doing the other day? Where we were building. So when we build a song patch, we'll build it on either Helix or Axe Effects, and then we copy it to the other one, right? So it's
we can't copy and paste.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna ask that.
Yeah, right. You can't do that. And we just build the same thing on the other platform, and then the way I have this set up in the studio here is we can send the guitar to all of them at the same time. So you just swap, and it was really hard to hear a difference. There are times
to hear a difference. I thought for sure hard to hear a difference. You could feel a slight difference though.
Yeah, there are times
only slightly
when you and I have both said the Helix version of that song.
Yeah, I prefer that
better.
Yeah, I prefer that. Yeah.
I mean, it's we objectively prefer the Helix version better.
We don't use one or the other to make the other. We don't use whatever A is to make B sound better or vice versa. It is we'll start on one and we'll be like, this sounds more like what we're going for, and then we'll try to get the other one to kind of sound like that. But it's not like, we always try to make Helix sound like Fractal. It's like, no, sometimes it's a different thing.
And a lot of the song patches, if we build a song patch, say we start with Fractal, Axe Effects, we'll build it from the matchless DC30 patch. Then we'll almost always start with that same matchless DC30 patch.
Yeah, that bass patch.
On Helix, right? Like using the same amp.
Yeah.
Right, the same types of effects. So yeah, it's not like one is just always better than the other. We understand too that we are at an extreme advantage that most people never get to experience, in that we can at any time we want play any of them and just say, oh, that's what that one's like. And we understand that you guys can't do that.
Yeah, that's not doable. It's not realistic.
And that is,
it doesn't make sense for
and
most
it would
people
be
that
like,
own all of
and
them.
if we didn't make presets for everything as part of what we do for a living, like it would be complete foolishness to own this much stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like I would never.
I
honestly,
think we still feel foolish at times for all the stuff.
Yeah, I do. Honestly,
I had to do renter's insurance, and I had to take stock of how much gear I had so I could make sure it was covered.
Yeah,
I'm embarrassed. I mean, thankful, but embarrassed.
yeah, it's crazy. I started the Reverb has this thing now called collect. Like you can put your entire gear collection in it, and I just
Like an
started
inventory
it,
list, yeah.
and it's pretty ridiculous. And I haven't even cracked the surface yet. Okay. So I honestly, like, if we didn't make presets for everything, I would bet $100 right now that I would still be. I'd be a Helix user today.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's what you started on.
I
and
started-
That started what we're doing. I mean, we
Yeah.
owe a lot to Line 6 and Helix, and they've really asked for nothing in return. First off, but we just owe a lot to the unit as like a unit because we started doing that, and people started trusting us to make stuff. And you know, there's just everything about it is way more intuitive to me. It's laid out in a very user-friendly way. These kind of units like this give you so much tweakability that if that's what you really like, you're going to be way happier, I think, with this than like the Helix. You can still tweak a lot in the Helix, but it's not the same. Like, you can edit the editable things. Like, you can edit the EQ on your trails, and like, you can it's awesome. It's crazy. Like,
every drive
that's
pedal.
a very simple example. But
For every drive pedal, you can change the transistors in it. Every drive pedal has an EQ section in it. You don't have to touch this stuff.
Yeah.
But you can. Now, having said that, what I said about Helix, my main unit that I use for the past several years has been Axe-Fx 3. And I suspect, because I don't like carrying multiple bags into a venue at the same time.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
This is going to replace that as my main.
I don't mind it, but as I was saying, to use the Axe as an all-in-one, it didn't change anything for me.
Yeah.
So, the question was asked, and I at least got to go. Like, is Helix going to be relevant in 5-10 years or whatever? And I'm like, it still sounds good. Like, I think in that amount of time, they would have released at least one more thing.
Yeah.
Which they've been sitting since Helix came out.
We don't know.
We have no idea.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
If we did, we couldn't tell you legally, but we don't.
But since Helix came out,
yeah,
I think we were talking about this. We're pretty sure Axe 3 came after that. Pretty certain.
I think so.
Quad Cortex, Kemper Stage, FM9 and FM3 for sure. The Iridium, the ACS1. Helix has been sitting, and I will say, I understand why Helix users are like, man, maybe I should switch. Because they're sitting there seeing all this other stuff come out. And
if I was a Helix user, I'd be a little antsy.
Yeah, and I could see one of two things. Maybe some people are thinking, like, it's bound to come anytime now, which I get.
Helix
like,
2?
Yeah, or whatever the successor is going to be called. But, like, I don't know. It still sounds good. It's not going to sound worse as it gets older.
Line 6 has not said that something is coming or when it's coming, but their engineer, you can find, like, Eric on
Klein,
Eric Klein on Facebook. He's like, of course we're working on the next thing.
Yeah.
But we can't say what that is or when that is.
Yeah, they're not.
So here's my what I suspect. NAMM 2022 is in summer.
Yeah, it's in Anaheim. They're doing one.
It moved from January to summer, and it's going to be in Anaheim. I think that's when it's going to come.
If it's not then it's a long way off.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not going to be released at this will be the first big NAMM since Winter NAMM, January 2020.
And the thing about these things is, like, they one-up each other, like, with generational moves.
And that should actually be encouraging to us. Because that means there's competition, which is
they make
keeping
each
the
other
other companies trying to innovate and make things better. So having one, like, saying that there's one thing that's the best, that's a sad market to live in. Because then everybody else might as well just give up. But there's no way to objectively rate that. So
here's my suspicion. That's what I said.
Is that what you said?
Yes. I heard it come out, and I thought, that's not a word.
I didn't know this.
But I think they get it, right?
When Brian's talking about certain things, I zone out because I know what he's about to say, so I look at the chat, and I didn't even catch it.
Yes. Hello, Bryce Sheehan. How are you? We miss you.
Hello, Bryce.
Bryce is a fellow Kemper user, by the way. Used to be on staff with us at New Hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think what is the next thing Line 6 is going to bring out? I don't know. I fully suspect it's going to be awesome. Is it going to sound better than...
Probably the DNA.
Yeah.
Because Helix is a fraction of it. I don't know.
If that's what it's called, I will buy you a steak dinner. Right now, I'm calling it Angus Barn, Tomahawk on me. Again, done. If it's called the
I'm
DNA.
going to have to think. Can I think about the name and tell you what I officially want
you
it
can
to
have
be
a
called?
second guess.
I'll solidify the name. I'm going to have to workshop this.
David says, I hope they call it the double helix. I mean, that would be great, but...
That'd be kind of a lame name, though, too. Doesn't sound as professional.
The DNA is cool. So, will it sound better than the Fractal modeling? Who knows? Will Fractal have an AxeFX 4 by then? Maybe? What will that do?
The longer
Who
Line
knows?
6 waits, though, the better their successor is going to have to be.
That's right.
Like they can't release something that sound. I mean, they can do whatever they want, I suppose, but
they can.
I don't know. The pressure is going to be on.
So it's interesting though because you have to also remember Helix was in development before HD 500X came out. I don't think people understand that. That's like lost on people. That's how long these things take to make. Yamaha purchased Line 6 like before Helix came out, and is a big reason why Helix came out at the price point was as premium as a product as it was. Yeah. And my thinking is Helix has been an enormous success for Line 6, and Yamaha obviously knows that, and I wonder if it will inspire them to create something even higher. We had this conversation with one of the engineers at Line 6 and basically said, like, if there's no limit to the amount of money that we think the market will spend on a device, like, we can make it better and better and better. Like, they have to strike this balance between price point and like what they can put in it. Like, you could put, you could spend lots of money on R&D and make something twice as powerful as an AxeFX 3. I don't know how you cool it. That's probably one. I'm not an engineer, but like that thing would cost a whole lot of money, and will the market support that?
Yeah, it's like, what if we make a unit that's $3,000? How many people are going to buy it versus how many people will buy a unit if it's $1,500?
Yeah.
And like at some point, one unit will, like, it does not mean that the $3,000 unit will make you more money. That does not, like, just because you're charging double does not mean, and it's not always about money, but that's why they exist. Like, as much as we'd like to think that they care about us, I mean, they do, but like, they can't.
They want to make money.
The reason it was started was not like because I see a gaping hole in the tonal community and I need to help. Like, I mean, it feels warm and fuzzy to say that, but that's not like the goal.
Yeah. So the reality is, like, he didn't say this, but what he was essentially saying is, like, Line 6 could make what does AxeFX 3 cost? $2,500?
Is it? I thought it was like 19.
It was, when I bought it, it was $2,500.
They did a price drop. Yeah.
So Line 6 could make a $2,500 modeling unit, and it would hang with, like, if they made a unit that cost that much, it would be like the way that they would develop it would be so that it would be as powerful. It would have the same level of, you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. It's like it's not like Zoom, for example, captures a
$22.99.99.
Yeah, like Zoom will make a device that's far more affordable than like a Helix,
and that's their
or
goal.
A Stomp.
That's their goal,
right? And so it's like at that price point, they can't develop that. It doesn't allow them the budget to develop the tech, but it doesn't mean that Zoom couldn't come out with a $2,500 modeling device that wouldn't sound amazing. It's just the market they're going for.
Have y'all seen?
I hope that makes sense.
Ads on Instagram for this unit that's like
a round circle
circular
thing.
It looks like a flat rose. It's not even just a circle.
Yeah,
I really want to just look at it, but another day.
Yes. Bradford needs to go.
I need to go, and I need your FC12.
Oh, okay. It's over there. You can take it.
Might I?
You may take it.
Also, I have to go. I drink a lot of water every day.
Yeah. My lemonade is gone as well. So, likewise. Luckily, this house has many bathrooms. This house and its many bathrooms.
In my house are many bathrooms. If it were not true, I would not have told you so.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
We need to do this more often.
I'm going to basically edit the video we shot, and it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, if you're joining in, you can rewatch the live stream, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe I won't need to edit the video we made. I can just do sound samples. Who knows? I should probably edit it.
Yeah.
It'll be better. All right. Thank you for watching. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do.
I don't know how else I would have gotten here, but...
If you have a modeling device, we may, it's likely we have a free patch for it, so you can go to worshiptutorials.com and download
If it's on the site, there is a free patch.
Hey, Greg. Greg Summers is here. I sent Greg some. Greg is a fellow FM9 user. That means he got on that list early. I sent Greg a test patch to demo for us. Thank you, Greg.
It was our free AC30 patch for the FM9, which is there now.
Appreciate that input that you've given us. All right. We're going to sign off.
I got to drive.
Time to go. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. End. Finish. Oh, there's the finish button. I was hitting on the wrong thing. Okay, now we're ending.